So, you're dreaming of that Arizona life. Endless sun, stunning sunsets, and a home that's basically a resort. It's a beautiful picture, right? But the price tag for that dream is showing signs of becoming a full-blown nightmare in 2025. Forget the mortgage. We're talking about HOA fines for having the wrong color cactus and insurance agents who just stop answering the phone. This isn't just a market correction. In some spots, it's a silent, sun-baked collapse. I found one city where home values are at risk of a 40% haircut. Yeah, so hit that subscribe button, not for me, but for your bank account survival. Let's start our road trip.
Number 10. Gilbert. You pull off the Santa Fe Freeway and cruise into our first stop, Gilbert, Arizona. And visually, it's aggressively pleasant. Perfectly manicured lawns, beige house after beige house, not a single blade of grass out of place. It's clean, it's safe, and you check the latest numbers online? Yep, it's expensive, with a median sold price hovering around $575,000 as of this summer. But you're not just buying a house here. Oh no, you are buying a membership into a club with a 1,000-page rulebook you never get to vote on. Welcome to the beating heart of Arizona's HOA kingdom. Most neighborhoods here are governed by a homeowners association, and a quick scan of local listings shows the fees can run anywhere from $50 to over $300 a month. For what? For the privilege of being told your basketball hoop is half an inch too close to the sidewalk, or that your holiday decorations are seasonally inappropriate because you left them up a week after New Year's? I'm not making this up. These are the kinds of violations people get fined for. So, let's do the math. You've got your mortgage on a $600,000 house, property taxes, which, while lower than the national average, are still a factor, and then you're stacking on another $200 or $300 a month, forever. It's like paying rent on a property you already own. You want to plant a different kind of tree? Submit a proposal. Thinking about a new mailbox? Get approval from the committee. It's a slow, soul-crushing erosion of the very reason you bought a house in the first place: freedom. Some people love the uniformity. Me, it feels like paying a premium to live in a diorama. Have you ever had a nightmare run-in with an HOA?
Number 9. Tucson. Leaving the pristine suburbs of Phoenix in the rearview mirror, you head south on Interstate 10 for about 2 hours. The landscape changes. The perfect grid of suburbia melts away, replaced by the rugged, saguaro-studded beauty of the Sonoran Desert. This is Tucson. It's got character, history, a vibrant art scene, and a housing market that seems to have completely lost its mind. You pull up the latest market data on your phone, and the median home price is staring back at you: $390,000. Okay, you think, still cheaper than Phoenix. But then you look at the other side of the equation. Oh no. According to the Census Bureau, the median household income in Tucson is around $54,000 a year. Let me just run those numbers again. A nearly $400,000 home on a $54,000 salary? What? That's a price-to-income ratio of more than 7. Financial advisors usually recommend a ratio of 3, maybe 4 if you're feeling spicy. 7 is not spicy, it's a 5-alarm fire. How is anyone who actually lives and works in Tucson supposed to afford a home here? The paychecks are still Tucson paychecks, driven by the university, government jobs, and hospitality. But the home prices? They're acting like they're a suburb of Scottsdale. It feels like the city's affordability has been strip-mined by out-of-state investors and remote workers who brought their California salaries with them. The math just doesn't work. It's a broken equation, and the people getting hurt are the ones who call this place home. This isn't a market. It's a cruel joke. Is this just the new normal, or is Tucson's market completely detached from its own economic reality? Number 8. Goodyear. You get back on the I-10 and head west, past the sprawl of Phoenix, and suddenly the horizon is just cranes, a forest of them.
You've arrived in Goodyear, a city that for the last decade has been synonymous with explosive growth. You drive through brand new communities with names like Estrella and Palm Valley, and the air smells like fresh paint and sawdust. On paper, it's the American dream under construction. The median home price here is just under $500,000, a figure that has climbed dramatically. But look closer, something's off. There are rows and rows of finished houses sitting empty. The sheer volume of new construction is staggering. It feels less like organic growth and more like a frantic race to build as much as possible, as fast as possible. And now, the builders are starting to look nervous. You see the signs plastered in front of sales offices, "Closing costs paid," or "Below market interest rates." These aren't the confident promotions of a booming market. This is the language of quiet desperation. Here's the trap. You buy a shiny new house for $500,000. A month later, the builder, desperate to move the 10 identical houses still sitting on the same street, offers the next buyer the same model for $480,000 and throws in a 2-year interest rate buy-down. Instantly, your brand new home is worth less than what you paid for it. Your equity is negative before your first mortgage payment is even due. You're underwater in the middle of the desert. It's a brutal game of musical chairs, and the builders are the only ones who know when the music is about to stop. Is a builder's deal ever really a deal for the buyer, or is it just a red flag in disguise? Number 7. Prescott. You escape the endless beige of the Phoenix metro and point your car north, climbing into the mountains. The air gets cooler, the landscape explodes with the deep green of ponderosa pines, and the sky seems a shade bluer. You've made it to Prescott, everybody's hometown. You park near the historic courthouse square, and you get it. This is the dream. A charming 4-season mountain town that feels a million miles away from the desert heat and chaos. It's long been a paradise for retirees, a place to cash out and live the good life. But that dream it's dying. You check the local listings, and the median home price is sitting at around $550,000. For a town where a huge portion of the population is on a fixed income, Social Security, pensions, savings, that number is already a stretch. But the purchase price isn't the weapon that gets you here. It's the slow, silent bleed of 1,000 other cuts. With home values soaring, so do property tax assessments. And then there's the big one, the one nobody wants to talk about: wildfire insurance. You're living in a beautiful forest, a beautiful, highly flammable forest. Insurance companies know this, and according to local news reports, premiums are skyrocketing. Some homeowners have seen their rates double or triple in a single year. Others are getting dropped entirely, left scrambling for coverage from the state's last resort plan, which offers less protection for a much higher price. So now, you're a retiree on a fixed budget, and suddenly your housing costs jump by $500, maybe $1,000 a month. What do? You can't just go get a raise. Your income is fixed. It's a financial trap disguised as a mountain paradise. If your retirement budget suddenly had to stretch an extra $1,000 a month, what would you have to give up? Number 6. Lake Havasu City. You drive west for hours, leaving the cool pines of Prescott behind as the elevation drops and the temperature climbs relentlessly. You feel the heat radiating off the asphalt as you roll into a place that feels like an impossible desert mirage, Lake Havasu City. You see the London Bridge. Yes, the actual London Bridge, bought and shipped here brick by brick, spanning a channel of shockingly blue water. The whole economy, the entire identity of this place is built on that water. Boating, spring break, fishing, tourism, it all flows from the lake. The median home price here is around $450,000, largely propped up by vacation home buyers and retirees. But the main attraction is in trouble. You walk down to the shore and you can see it with your own eyes.
The bathtub ring, that white, chalky line staining the canyon walls, showing just how far the water levels have dropped. Lake Havasu is fed by the Colorado River, a river system that, according to decades of federal data, is in a state of historic crisis. It's over-allocated, plagued by drought, and shrinking. Every single year, the Bureau of Reclamation issues more dire warnings about mandatory water cuts for Arizona. It's almost funny. People are paying $500,000 for a lakefront property on a lake that is visibly disappearing. What happens to the value of your dream vacation home when the boat ramp is 100 yards from the water's edge? What happens to the tourism that fuels the local economy when the lake becomes a muddy, shrunken puddle? It's not a question of if, but when. Buying a house here feels like buying a beautiful, expensive, top-of-the-line VCR in 1999. You know how the story ends. It's just a matter of time. Which market feels more risky? One built on a disappearing lake or one built on a fragile tourism economy?
Number 5. Flagstaff. You escape the blistering heat of the Mojave, climbing 2,000, 3,000, finally 7,000 feet into the sky. The air thins, the temperature drops 20 degrees, and the desert scrub gives way to the largest contiguous ponderosa pine forest on the continent. This is Flagstaff. It's a four-season paradise of hiking, skiing, and craft breweries. The appeal is overwhelming. You want to live here. I want to live here. And the housing market knows it. You pull over, check the latest listings, and your jaw just unhinges. The median home price is $750,000. Okay, deep breaths. Let's figure this out. A $750,000 mortgage with today's rates and insurance costs requires an annual income of, around $200,000? Minimum, just to be considered by a bank. So you look up the median household income for Flagstaff, Arizona, and the number is... Are you kidding me? The median household income is $68,000. No, that can't be right. You can't even afford the down payment on a tool shed here with that salary. The gap between what people earn and what houses cost isn't a gap, it's a canyon. It's a joke, a cruel, unfunny joke. So who is buying these houses? It's not the teachers, the firefighters, the nurses, or the people working at the local restaurants. It's second home buyers from Phoenix and remote workers from California pricing out an entire generation of locals. It's a beautiful town that's actively devouring its own workforce. And if you think this is shocking, the next one is a financial horror story. If you thought this was bad, wait until we get to the city where the water is literally being shut off. We're getting close to number 1. Is it still a paradise if the people who make it run can't afford to live there?
Number 4. Scottsdale. You descend from the high country back into the Valley of the Sun and cruise into a city that practically gleams. Scottsdale. This is where the money lives. You see the Bentleys and Lamborghinis parked outside 5-star resorts and art galleries. The landscaping is immaculate, the golf courses are impossibly green, and the homes are architectural masterpieces. The median home price here, according to Zillow, is a cool $850,000. But underneath all that polish and shine, the luxury market is starting to show some serious cracks. For years, Scottsdale was a goldmine for short-term rental investors. People bought up properties, slapped some trendy furniture in them, and listed them on Airbnb and VRBO, charging a fortune during golf tournaments and spring training. The city became saturated with them. But now, the party's showing signs of being over. In 2023, the city cracked down, passing an ordinance that jacked up licensing fees and imposed strict rules on these party houses. At the same time, according to market analytics from sites like AirDNA, revenue per available rental has been declining. Too much supply, not enough demand. So what happens next? The investors are getting squeezed.
Their profit margins are shrinking, and their cash cows are turning into money pits. You can see the evidence already starting to pop up in the MLS. A flood of nearly identical, investor-grade furnished homes are hitting the market all at once, all competing for a limited pool of buyers. It's a game of hot potato, and nobody wants to be left holding the bag when the music stops. This isn't a slow, gentle correction. This is the kind of situation that can trigger a panic. When an entire segment of the market is propped up by investors and they all decide to sell at the same time, well, you do the math. Where do you think prices here are headed in the next 12 months?
Number 3. Maricopa. You leave the glitz of Scottsdale behind and drive south, and then you keep driving and driving, past the last bits of Chandler, past the Gila River Indian community, until you're in the middle of, well, it feels like the middle of nowhere. Then, out of the flat desert landscape, a city materializes. Acres and acres of brand new tile-roofed houses, all packed together. You've reached Maricopa. This was the poster child for affordable home ownership in the Phoenix metro. For years, the deal was simple. You drive until you qualify. And thousands of families did just that. Just 2 years ago, you could snag a home here for under $300,000. Today, the median price has shot up to over $420,000, according to Redfin data. The affordability is gone. It evaporated. But the one thing that hasn't changed is the brutal, soul-crushing commute. There is one main road in and one main road out, State Route 347. During rush hour, it transforms into a parking lot. A one-way trip to a job in Central Phoenix can easily take 90 minutes. That's 3 hours of your life, every single day, spent staring at the taillights in front of you. 3 hours. Think about that. That's 15 hours a week, 60 hours a month. You're spending the equivalent of a part-time job, unpaid, just sitting in your car. And for what? For a house that's no longer cheap? You've got the high home price of a major metro with the commute of a rural outpost. It's the worst of both worlds. The pandemic-era remote work dream that made this seem plausible for some is fading, with more companies demanding a return to the office. So now, you're stuck in traffic, stuck with a mortgage that's way too high for the location, and stuck in a city that's 30 miles from the nearest real job center. Is any commute worth sacrificing 3 hours of your life every single day? Number 2. Sedona. Leaving the flat, sprawling suburbs behind for good, you drive north on Interstate 17, climbing the Black Canyon Highway. The elevation rises, the temperature drops, and then you see it. The world turns a deep Martian red. You've arrived on another planet. This is Sedona. It's breathtaking, truly. The massive red rock formations jutting into a cobalt blue sky. It feels sacred. It feels special. You pull into the bustling town, a mix of high-end art galleries, new-age crystal shops, and pink Jeep tours, and the energy is palpable. You can see why people fall in love with this place, and then you look up the median home price. What? You check another site, just to be sure the first one wasn't a typo. Nope, $900,000 for a median in a town of 10,000 people? How? What industry here supports $900,000 home prices? And then you realize there is only one industry: tourism. Every single dollar that flows through this town is attached to a visitor's wallet. The hotels, the restaurants, the tour guides, the shopkeepers, the entire economic ecosystem is balanced on the head of a pin. It's a beautiful, fragile, single point of failure system. What happens in the next recession when travel budgets get slashed? What happens during the next global event that grinds tourism to a halt? The cash flow just stops. The Airbnbs sit empty. The service industry jobs vanish overnight. And the home values, which are propped up by nothing more than the constant influx of tourist cash and second home buyers, are left hanging in the air with no foundation beneath them. This isn't a city. It's a theme park with mortgages.
If you had to bet your life savings on a single industry to support your home's value, is tourism the one you'd pick? Number 1. Queen Creek. And here we are, the end of the road, the final stop on our tour of Arizona's housing horrors. This is the place I warned you about, the city that embodies every single risk we've talked about and rolls them into one terrifying package. You drive into Queen Creek, and it looks like the pinnacle of the suburban dream. Expansive new homes on what used to be farmland, pristine parks, and families everywhere. The median home price is pushing $650,000. People are pouring their life savings into this place. But they're building a dream on a foundation of sand. Because underneath all this beautiful, expensive new construction, there is a secret. A secret that state regulators have already confirmed, but that home builders seem to be whispering about. The water is running out. I'm not being metaphorical. In 2023, Arizona state government officially announced it would halt approvals for new housing developments in the Phoenix outskirts that rely solely on groundwater. Why? Because the state's own models showed there isn't enough groundwater to support the homes that have already been built, let alone the ones planned for the future. Queen Creek is at the absolute epicenter of this crisis. So, let's talk about that 40% crash. This isn't a projection from a bank. It's a worst-case scenario rooted in a terrifyingly simple question. What is your $650,000 house worth if you can't get water out of the tap? What happens to its value when your well runs dry or your utility is forced into permanent, drastic rationing? The value doesn't just dip, it collapses. A 40% haircut isn't a market correction. It's a fundamental repricing of an asset that could become uninhabitable. It represents the risk of owning a beautiful, modern, worthless home in the middle of a man-made desert. This is the punchline. This is the ugliest truth of the Arizona housing boom. If a home has no water, is it even a home anymore? So there you have it, a road trip through a desert dream that's showing every sign of turning into a financial mirage. We dodged HOA Kyrants, questioned the insane math in towns like Flagstaff, and ended in Queen Creek, a place literally running out of water. The price tag for a sunset view is getting steeper than the Grand Canyon, and the foundation is cracking. Is this just a temporary market fever, or is Arizona building a beautiful, unaffordable ghost town? Drop your reality check in the comments, and if you want to stay ahead of the next housing trap, subscribe.